Ram recently made an announcement that could potentially save them in 2025. Since most automakers are having trouble selling their cars, there has been a lot of talk about the auto industry lately. Ram in particular is in such a dire situation that some executives are now abandoning the company. Ram recently announced a significant price reduction as a result, and this has the entire industry talking, particularly Ford and GM. In addition to saving itself, Ram might be able to take sizable market shares away from its rivals with a move like this. How big would this price reduction be then? For consumers, what does this mean? What does it signify for the brand's future? This is going to be an exciting ride, so fasten your seatbelt. In the past, Stellantis and its brands dominated the automotive industry and essentially controlled the roads. They had everything from sporty Chrysler sedans cruising in elegance to tough Jeeps tearing up trails and Dodge muscle cars thundering down highways. But now, they seem to have hit a huge pothole. Stellantis appears to be having trouble moving forward and appears to be stuck in neutral. Let's start by talking about Jeep. For adventurers, Jeep used to be the best option available. Jeep was the vehicle of choice if you wanted to experience unbridled freedom, explore the vast outdoors, or traverse difficult terrain, like the type of vehicle you see in every national park poster or camping advertisement. The brand was widely associated with adventure. However, things have drastically changed. Jeep's sales have plummeted by an astounding 44% since the year 18th. That's nearly half of their clientele lost in a few short years. Furthermore, Jeep is not the only vehicle experiencing difficulties. In the past, Dodge dominated the muscle car market. Dodge was operating at full capacity in the year 1313, producing legendary vehicles like the Charger and Challenger. These cars made statements in addition to being useful tools. However, in the present day, it seems as though someone applied the e-brake to their momentum. The sales have completely fallen. They have decreased by 67%. It raises the question, where have all the fans of muscle cars gone? Next up is Chrysler, and this one is a little heartbreaking. Chrysler was more than just a car manufacturer. It was a representation of American creativity. Looking back, Chrysler was synonymous with luxury, innovative design, and cutting-edge technology. These were the vehicles you would see leading the pack-in parades or arriving at formal events. Now, though, they seem to be barely hanging on, stuck in the slow lane. Chrysler hasn't really kept up with the intense competition in the auto industry, particularly as electric cars and cutting-edge technology take over. What precisely is causing all of this, then? One does not need to be an automotive genius to understand Stellantis's problems. Pricing is the main source of the issue. Stellantis has a long history of putting exorbitant price tags on their cars, and their bad reputation is finally getting to them. Let's dissect it. Do you recall the 1500 tungsten Ram? Although it's a more upscale version of a pickup truck, it's still a pickup at its core. It's neither revolutionary nor extremely exclusive. If you were to walk into a dealership, you would notice that the price tag was slightly more than $100,000. Is a truck really worth $100,000? That is a true investment rather than merely a splurge. It's not just their trucks either. The entire lineup of Stellantis has become overpriced. Previously renowned for their accessible off-road experiences, rugged Jeeps now have price tags that read more luxury weekend getaway than let's hit the trails. SUVs that are suitable for families and should be reasonably priced? No, they're suddenly competing with luxury brands because they're in price ranges where they are. Even Dodge sedans, which were once renowned for having affordable muscle, now appear to be more concerned with price than horsepower. The issue extends to automobiles, which are meant to be reasonably priced. Despite being the mainstay of the automotive industry for the majority of automakers, compact SUVs and crossovers are somehow priced like luxury vehicles. Stellantis seems to have missed the memo that these markets are intended to serve real-world consumers, rather than those looking for luxury. Now consider the customers they are alienating. Imagine a small family on the hunt for their first SUV. They want something that is dependable, roomy, and most importantly, reasonably priced. Or perhaps the buyer is a first-time truck buyer looking to acquire a reliable, sturdy workhorse. They enter a Stellantis dealership, glance at the sticker prices, and most likely leave as quickly as a Dodge Hellcat leaves the line. They will instead go to Ford or Chevrolet, where costs are more reasonable. Or perhaps even Toyota, which provides that ideal mix of affordability and quality. It appears that Stellantis has priced itself out of its own clientele, making regular consumers feel as though these formerly affordable brands are now unaffordable. Given that rivals are providing comparable or superior cars without charging exorbitant prices, it's no surprise that their sales are plummeting. What is Stellantis doing in response to this? Everyone in the automotive industry is talking about their move, and for good reason. They recently revealed this enormous plan to lower prices for every item in their lineup. Furthermore, when I say cut prices, I don't mean to shave a few dollars off here and there. Not at all. Price reductions of up to 35% are being offered. About 1/3 of the cost is lost. Take a moment to process that information. The best part is that this isn't just a vague promise that we'll do it someday. In fact, it is happening and will happen soon. These price reductions will be implemented by Stellantis for all products beginning in the second quarter of 25. Imagine this. Do you recall the Ram 1500 Tungsten? the model with all the extras and a staggering price tag of $150,000. With this new approach, the cost of that truck will now be approximately $65,000. $55,000. All of a sudden, it's not just a luxury vehicle for the wealthy. It's priced similarly to vehicles made by Ford, Chevrolet, and GMC. This goes beyond simply lowering prices to appear good. Stellantis is aware that the truck and SUV markets are among the most competitive in the world. For years, General Motors and Ford have been dominating the market, and Stellantis, they have in fact been somewhat behind. They're saying, yes, hey, we're still in the game, and we're coming for a bigger slice of the pie with this audacious move. To be honest, this is fantastic news for customers like us as well as for Stellantis. Lower MSRPs have an impact where it matters, not just because they seem nice on paper. Lower monthly payments are associated with smaller price tags. For many families, they also pave the way for better financing offers, which is revolutionary. Additionally, it makes people feel as though they are finally receiving value for their money. Put an end to sticker shock and the feeling that you overpaid for a set of wheels. Naturally, though, this won't sit well with everyone. Recent buyers are probably quite concerned about the recent decline in the value of new SUVs. Imagine a situation where a person spends about $75,000 on a brand new Dodge or Jeep SUV over the course of 24 hours. This large outlay is frequently accompanied by the hope that the car will hold its value for a fair amount of time, which would support the high monthly payments. But sometimes the truth is very harsh. Imagine how shocked these owners will be to learn that, in a matter of months, the value of their SUV has dropped by almost $25,000. Owners may suffer a serious financial setback as a result of this sharp drop in resale value, leaving them to consider the consequences of their investment. Those who are impacted are likely to react initially with disappointment and frustration. In addition to having an effect on their financial planning, the large value decline calls into question the perceived dependability of their investment. The only practical way to lessen this loss is for owners to keep their cars for a long time, increasing the value and utility generated by the purchase. With this strategy, the car will be driven for a number of years, possibly gaining a lot of mileage that will partially offset the initial depreciation. This circumstance emphasizes to potential buyers how crucial it is to take long-term ownership into account when making a new car purchase. When making decisions, the possibility of quick depreciation ought to be a key consideration. To make sure the investment is still worthwhile, buyers must assess if they are willing to keep the car for a long time. However, the fact remains that Stellantis must take this action to preserve itself. Let's take a moment to discuss Ram. Ram trucks have a reputation for being larger than life. That truck that shouts, "I'm built for the toughest jobs, but I can still look great doing it," you know. They have long been the preferred option for those seeking unadulterated power, unflappable dependability, and that tough, work hard, play hard charisma. Let's face it though, Ram appears to have taken up a new pastime lately, pricing themselves out of the market. I mean, have you looked at some of these models' price tags? They seem to be inviting customers to leave. Some of their trucks now feel more like trophy cases in the showroom than vehicles you would really use for off-roading or hauling lumber. Ford and General Motors, Ram's main competitors, have been operating entirely differently in the interim. These guys are working hard, not just lounging around. With the F-150 Lightning, which is similar to the Tesla of pickup trucks but has a much more laid-back attitude, Ford has been riding the electric wave. What about GM? They have also been taking risks with their electric vehicle strategy, releasing models that blend innovation and practicality. Additionally, they have been putting a lot of effort into controlling prices by offering incentives and deals that make it difficult to refuse. Additionally, let's take a moment to discuss 2244. The price war between Ford and GM was so fierce that it resembled a heavyweight boxing match, except instead of punches, there were discounts. For truck shoppers, it was a complete buyer's market, as if every day was Black Friday. Salespeople were practically giving you the red carpet to sign, prices were slashed, and there were cashback offers everywhere. Imagine entering a Ford dealership, taking a test drive of the newest F-Series, and then casually strolling over to a GM lot with your arms crossed and declaring, "Okay, beat that deal." For anyone looking to buy a truck or SUV, it was the ideal time of year. What about Stellantis? Boy, oh boy. Stellantis was merely observing from the sidelines as Ford and GM sparred in the ring. No large promotions, no gaudy discounts, no pushy marketing, nothing. It seemed as though they chose to grab some popcorn, rather than get into a brawl after realizing how fierce the competition was getting. The problem is that sitting on your hands is a bad strategy in a market as competitive as trucks and SUVs. Every customer must be fought for, and Stellantis just didn't. As expected, they suffered greatly as a result of their carefree attitude. Stellantis simply watched its numbers plummet while Ford and GM increased sales and won over even more customers. The adage "you snooze, you lose" applies here, and Stellantis regrettably pressed the snooze button too frequently. However, it appears that Stellantis is finally waking up with their audacious plan to cut prices by up to 35%. They've come to the realization that they must offer something significant if they hope to compete in this very competitive market. A few months ago, Stellantis revealed some rather startling information regarding their international auto shipments. They declared that there has been a significant impact on these shipments. We're talking about a 20% decline in the third quarter compared to the same period last year. Zooming in on North America makes it even messier. Not only did the shipments there plummet, but they plummeted by an astounding 36%. This is where things start to get really interesting. In actuality, the decline in shipments was much greater than the decline in sales. Stellantis reported that during the same quarter, their actual sales only decreased by 15%. Well, only may sound a bit optimistic, given that 15% is still a respectable hit, but it's far from the 36% drop in shipments. What gives then? What causes the significant discrepancy between sales and shipments? There are, in fact, a few things happening here. To start, Stellantis has been reconsidering its strategy regarding its range of products. They have been switching gears, most likely reducing production of less well-liked models and increasing production of those they anticipate will be in high demand in the future. In a market that is as competitive as ever, it makes sense to prioritize quality over quantity. Second, dealerships are becoming much more astute in their inventory management practices. The goal back then was to fill the lot with as many cars as you could in the hopes that someone would come in and buy them. Now, though, that game is no longer played by dealers. Being extremely cautious, they are only accepting models that they are certain will sell. Nobody wants automobiles to sit around gathering dust and losing value. The problem is that Stellantis's issues aren't limited to North America. This is a piece of a much larger worldwide narrative. They didn't simply slip their shipments into Canada and the US. No, they also suffered in the Asia-Pacific region, China, India, and the massive markets of Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. That's a lot of ground to cover, and it demonstrates the significant global issues Stellantis is dealing with. It's easy to understand why. The automotive industry is undergoing rapid change at the moment due to supply chain problems, consumer behavior changing more quickly than ever, and electric vehicles upending the status quo. They must learn to ride this wave rather than get sucked into the undertow if Stellantis hopes to stay ahead. In the meantime, the attention is being stolen by their rivals. Ford and GM are impressing consumers with their state-of-the-art electric cars, svelte futuristic styling, and technology that gives you the impression that you are operating a spacecraft. Stellantis? They continue to rely on their older models, which may have been popular in the past, but now seem a little dated. Ram trucks too? What a boy. It hurts a little because Ram used to embody the tough, work hard, play harder mentality. However, their departure from the recognizable Hemi V8 engine is a major factor that could be contributing to their decline in popularity. The Hemi was more than just an engine for many years. It was a statement. Truck fans wore it as a badge of honor because of its powerful roar. It's a risky move to switch to the twin-turbo Hurricane engine, which is highly efficient and technically sophisticated. But let's face it, ardent Hemi fans don't find it to be as emotionally stirring. It's similar to getting a brand new coat in place of your beloved worn-out leather jacket. Although the new one might keep you warmer, is the vibe the same? The same spirit? Not at all. Now, since Ford nailed this type of transition, let's compare it to their playbook. Do you recall the launch of their EcoBoost V6 engines? They didn't simply give up their beloved V8s and cross their fingers. They played it cleverly, though. The iconic Coyote 5.0-liter V8 was retained in the lineup. Really, it was brilliant. Customers benefited from the best of both worlds. Do you want something innovative and effective? Take a look at the EcoBoost, a high-tech package that combines power and fuel efficiency. Do you still yearn for that? Heart-stopping vintage V8 rumble? It's waiting for you right here, so don't worry. Customers adore that kind of flexibility. Hey, we know not everyone is ready for this new wave of tech, and that's cool, Ford remarked. We still have the timeless items you are familiar with. That tactic was revolutionary, not just well-considered. And Stellantis is failing miserably there. They run the risk of offending their biggest supporters by straying too far from what made Ram trucks iconic without providing a link to the modern era. Ram made the decision to take a daring new route. But rather than combining EcoBoost and V8 like Ford did, they made a more drastic decision. They are completely discontinuing the venerable Hemi V8. You ask, why? The causes, however, are most likely taken directly from an automaker's blueprint. The first is fuel efficiency. The Heli wasn't exactly taking home any accolades for consuming gas, let's face it. Its reputation was more along the lines of drinks like a fish. Then there is the ever-tightening grip of emissions regulations, particularly those from California and the EPA, which could as well be called automotive nemesis. Additionally, is it possible to streamline production? It's a cost-cutter's paradise, saving factories headaches, money, and time. On paper, all of this makes sense. It's likely that the environmentalists, engineers, and accountants are nodding in agreement. This is the harsh truth, though. None of that cheers up Hemi fans. Why? Because the Hemi was an experience rather than merely an engine. Imagine this. A Hemi V8's deep, primordial growl roared from the dual exhaust as a Ram 1500 rolled by. It demanded attention rather than merely drawing attention. That sound was a badge of honor, not just a noise. "This truck means business," it stated. For Ram owners, the Hemi was about identity as much as raw power. Being the owner of a Hemi-powered Ram with the greatest soundtrack on the road was like belonging to an exclusive club. The Hurricane engine is the newest kid on the block. It is a worthy successor on paper. It is more effective, has a powerful punch, and uses state-of-the-art technology. It's likely that engineers stayed up late perfecting it. The catch is that the Hurricane is silent. Too silent. You get a soft hum in place of the Hemi's chest-thumping growl. It's whispering, "I have power," to be sure. But to ardent Ram supporters, that whisper might as well be silence. It lacks the soul and unadulterated passion that made the Hemi famous. To be fair, the decision that Ram made to retire the Hemi engine most likely makes sense when viewed in the bigger picture. Reducing emissions, improving fuel efficiency, and remaining in compliance with regulations are all extremely important goals for any automobile manufacturer operating in the modern era. Recognizing this fact, however, does not make the transition any less disappointing or upsetting, mainly due to the fact that the Hemi V8 was not merely an engine, rather, it was a legacy. In addition, when you let go of something that has been around for such a long time, it is not just a decision made for business purposes, it is the conclusion of an era. These price reductions couldn't have come at a better time because fans are already upset with Ram and Stellantis as a whole for a variety of reasons, and in light of this, the timing couldn't have been better. The question now is, what does this imply for the sector? If Stellantis is successful in executing this daring move, the automotive industry may be in for a shift that will completely change the game. Neither Ford nor General Motors are going to take a passive stance and allow Stellantis to take their market share without putting up a fight themselves. On the contrary, they are going to be required to reevaluate their pricing strategies, which indicates that a potential full-on price war might be just around the corner. Trust me when I say that a price war in the automotive industry has the potential to become quite interesting. Price wars, on the other hand, are not always a negative thing. Although they might reduce the profit margins of automobile manufacturers, the consumers would be the ones who would benefit the most from this scenario. Imagine the following. You walk into a dealership, and all of a sudden the prices of trucks, SUVs, and crossovers are significantly more affordable than they were before. It is as if you have walked into the ultimate deal fest, where you can purchase the vehicle of your dreams without completely emptying your checking account. A greater number of competitors and reduced prices? Unquestionably, this is a win for the purchasers. However, and there is always a but in this context, price wars are associated with significant risks. Automobile manufacturers need to find a balance between the cost of their products and their level of quality. Simply lowering prices and hoping for the best is not an option for them. They need to maintain the durability, dependability, and high performance of their vehicles, while simultaneously making them more accessible to the general public in order to emerge victorious from this conflict. It is going to be a challenging journey for Stellantis. If they are successful in reducing expenses without sacrificing quality, they will not only be able to regain customers who have previously been dissatisfied with their purchases, but they will also be able to attract completely new customers who would not have considered purchasing a Stellantis vehicle in the past. To be clear, this entire strategy is not going to be solely dependent on Stellantis. Rather, it will also be heavily dependent on their dealerships. You are familiar with the scenario. You walk in with the expectation that you are about to get a fantastic deal, only to be surprised by additional fees that were not included in the deal in the first place. If Stellantis is successful in convincing their dealerships to cooperate with a price-cutting strategy and steer clear of those sneaky markups, they may end up receiving a significant amount of positive feedback from customers. In a nutshell, this action taken by Stellantis has the potential to completely change the game. Neither Ford nor General Motors are going to take a passive stance and allow Stellantis to take their market share without putting up a fight themselves. On the contrary, they are going to be required to reevaluate their pricing strategies, which indicates that a potential full-on price war might be just around the corner. Imagine the following. You walk into a dealership, and all of a sudden the prices of trucks, SUVs, and crossovers are significantly more affordable than they were before. It is as if you have walked into the ultimate deal fest, where you can purchase the vehicle of your dreams without completely emptying your checking account. A greater number of competitors and reduced prices? Unquestionably, this is a win for the purchasers. However, and there is always a but in this context, price wars are associated with significant risks. Automobile manufacturers need to find a balance between the cost of their products and their potential to set off a domino effect within the automotive industrial sector. In spite of the fact that price wars may provide consumers with more affordable options, automobile manufacturers will need to proceed with caution in order to strike a balance between reducing costs and preserving the quality that customers anticipate. In order for Stellantis' strategy to reduce prices to be successful, there is one significant obstacle that they will need to overcome, and that is their dealerships. To ensure that they do not add on any hidden fees or markups that would undermine the promise of those sweet, low prices, it is essential to make sure that they do not do things like that. It is a delicate balancing act. Dealerships must maintain their profitability, but they must also avoid giving the impression to their customers that they are receiving less value as a result of the price reduction. In order for this to be successful, Stellantis will need to keep a close eye on their dealership network and ensure that all of their employees are on the same page regarding pricing guidelines. In order to ensure that dealerships comply with the new strategy, Stellantis will likely need to provide incentives in the form of rewards or bonuses for dealerships that adhere to the agreed-upon prices. It is not enough to simply put the appropriate numbers on the price tag. If Stellantis is successful in accomplishing this, they will have a significant advantage over their competitors. These dealerships have the potential to become some of the most appealing locations for customers because they provide both the affordability and the quality of their products. However, let us not overlook the dealers among themselves. Although lower prices may result in lower margins on each sale, the increased volume of sales may more than compensate for the marginal reduction in profit margins. Think about it. If Stellantis is able to increase demand by providing vehicles that are more affordable, then dealerships will be able to sell more units and maintain a healthy bottom line. Additionally, with a revitalized Stellantis brand and vehicles that offer more value, these dealerships have the potential to begin attracting new customers, establishing long-term relationships, and ensuring that they will continue to receive repeat business for many years to come. For Stellantis, this strategy of lowering prices is about more than just lowering prices. It is a strategic move to rebuild their brand and regain trust in their customers. The company Stellantis does not want to be known as a brand that provides low-cost deals, but at the expense of quality. Instead, they want to demonstrate that it is possible to have both a great price and a great performance at the same time using their product. The company is demonstrating to customers that it is not necessary to sacrifice quality in order to obtain a good deal by lowering the prices of their automobiles. And if we are being completely honest, this is the kind of tactic that has the potential to attract people's attention. Imagine getting your hands on a fully loaded Ram 1500 for just $65,000, or finding a Jeep Grand Cherokee at a price that is significantly more affordable than you thought was possible. Both of these things are possible. This is a game changer for those individuals who have been eyeing these automobiles but have thought to themselves, there is no way I can afford an automobile like that. These vehicles, which were previously out of reach, are now much more accessible thanks to Stellantis, which is a dream come true for buyers who are concerned about their financial situation. So, what are your thoughts on this matter? Stellantis, will they be able to pull this off successfully? Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Congratulations. Do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell, in order to ensure that you are always up to date with all of our most recent videos. You can view additional content that is similar to this one by clicking on the video that is currently displayed on your screen while you are still here.